Next, you will hear from this year's student speaker, Andrew Sternlight, a proud member of Section I. But before he gives his speech, I think it's important to give background on how he was selected and a little more information on Andrew. The Class Day student speaker was selected by a panel of judges representing each section. Each contestant that we heard provided presentations that were funny, moving, and superbly encapsulated the many takeaways of our transformative HBS experience. We felt privileged to hear from such a talented group and wish we could share all the speeches with you. It was a very tough decision, but in the end, we were only able to pick one presenter. Now, to give you a little background on Andrew, he was born in California some 28 years ago to a lovely family who is here with him today. Andrew attended Harvard College and graduated with a degree in social studies. After college, Andrew co-founded the nonprofit venture Higher Edge Scholars, which helps low-income public high school students earn admission to and prepare for some of America's most selective universities via an intensive and integrated mentorship model. He also concurrently worked in the motion picture business affairs at Paramount Pictures. He returned to the classroom both at the Harvard Business School and at Yale Law School. After graduation, he intends to pursue a lifelong career of entrepreneurship and work on his own startup, again in both the public and social sectors. However, there's a lot more to Andrew than just the bullet points of his resume. Before today, I decided to do a little digging, and I asked some of his closest friends their thoughts on Andrew. The primary question I asked each of them was to describe Andrew in just 3 words. As responses came in, it was incredible to see that each person asked used generally the same 3 words: caring, thoughtful, and dedicated. They elaborated on these virtues through 3 telling examples. First, as mentioned, immediately after his undergraduate studies, Andrew was the founder and CEO of his own startup. Obviously, this was a very impressive accomplishment that shows much of Andrew's drive and talent. However, this venture wouldn't have been truly Andrew without having the broader purpose of helping others through providing better access to quality education. The second example, as if Andrew's plate wasn't full enough, being dual enrolled in both law and business school, he also served as a tutor for one of Harvard's undergraduate houses. This position is truly a full-time job, and it has amazed those close to Andrew of his ability to juggle his studies while, and I'm quoting here, having to deal with the day-to-day issues of those often unruly Harvard undergraduates. What is equally amazing is the deep respect Andrew's students display towards him. This respect was earned through never-ending patience, thoughtful guidance, and true concern for all those he mentors. Finally, Andrew's care and concern for others extends beyond those under his watch and includes all of his friends and family. Even with a busy schedule, he is always willing to set aside time to talk, listen, and provide thoughtful advice to any of his friends. People truly enjoy his company and look to him as a genuine friend and mentor. One response summarized it best: "Everyone I know who knows Andrew Sternlight is in love with Andrew Sternlight." Ladies and gentlemen, I give you your 2012 Class Day speaker, Andrew Sternlight.
Thank you, Luke. In the great tradition of the Harvard Business School, you've set expectations I cannot live up to. Dean Noria, Ms. Sandberg, distinguished faculty and staff, members of the class of 2012, Section I, and ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor to stand here before you, and especially today, in 2012, at such a turbulent yet auspicious time in our planet's history. 2012 marks new chapters in the Greek debt crisis, where the fate of a sovereign nation relies on the companionship of its greater community. It marks the landing of NASA's Mars Curiosity rover, literally expanding our world's frontiers. And it marks the implacable admonitions of the Mayan apocalypse that our world, once and for all, will explode in a thunderstorm of fire and brimstone. If these warnings are accurate, then the fact that they've let me speak to you today must certainly be one of the four horsemen. Now, at the end of our 2-year journey, it seems appropriate to muse about what goals brought us all here in the first place. Perhaps we came to HBS to feed upon prestige. As the philosophy professor William James once characterized graduate school at Harvard, we dangle our 3 magic letters before the eyes of these predestined victims, and they swarm to us like moths to an electric light. Or perhaps it was to feverishly network, engaging in something the writer Ambrose Bierce once likened to social promiscuity. Even my iPhone has begun to miss the seductive love chirp of your calendar invites. But I think it was search for something much greater, that through purposefully disrupting our lives, we would have the chance to discover and embrace a new perspective about what is important to us and how we should live. Today, in that regard, I'd like to share with you a very personal story that left me with 2 lasting lessons I think we must always remember, lessons that I call the unforgettables. During my senior year at college, I was diagnosed with an aggressive metastatic form of cancer. Thinking that I had pushed myself too hard at the gym, I, for a long time, ignored a nagging pain in my lower back that distracted me from more important responsibilities, like recruiting for jobs and planning life after graduation. I remember the moment when I had to explain to my parents there was a chance I was going to die. But after 3 months of chemotherapy, I was in the clear. Though chemo did provide a free weight loss program and full body wax, I never approached the standards of fitness and glamour set by my HBS classmates, Olympic athletes, Navy SEALs, and the rest of you who accidentally got fit while stalking Tyra Banks at Shad. In place of physical strength, I developed fresh eyes in what I consider to be my second lease on life. Now, I'm not here to frighten you into paying a visit to your doctor or to persuade you to swear off the calm. Instead, I want to share with you 2 thoughts that ever since chemo, I keep struggling to remember, but must never forget. One is about community, and the other is about purpose. First, about community. I learned something unforgettable from staring death in the eyes and hoping I would not blink first. Thinking that I only had a few months to live, I faced a basic but difficult challenge to somehow muster the will to fight every day, or to compliantly accept my fate, whatever it might be. With plenty of time to marinate in my memories, I discovered that what mattered to me most were not scholastic or professional achievements, but instead the moments I had spent with my family and my friends, the same people who were taking care of me in the hospital and who flew from California to be here today. This community of people gave me an elixir that even my best doctors couldn't provide, a sense of hope that encouraged me to fight hard when others gave up. When I'm older and weaker, I know I'll once again measure my life in terms of these loving relationships. I ask you to remind me and each other to never forget to give freely of yourselves to your family and to your community. Even Adam Smith, that forefather of capitalism, first articulated his idea for the invisible hand, not in the economically principled Wealth of Nations, but rather in his earlier study of human relationships, Theory of Moral Sentiments. There, Smith clarified that gains from trade represent much more than just surpluses from the exchange of goods. Rather, they also include the compassionate self-giving pledged by people who realize their human potential through sympathy and through fellowship with associates, friends, and family. At HBS, we have been part of something much greater than ourselves. And I am not talking just about the symbolic trappings of tradition. Yes, we all do wear the identical black fleece, not so much to advertise our sophisticated pedigree, but rather so that on cold late nights in Boston, strangers know where to send us home. No, instead, I mean that despite celebrating the rich differences that have fascinated and informed our studies these last 2 years, what matters much more is our common humanity. I have no doubt that in the days that follow, each of us will face sleepless, sickly nights. At some point, we'll be haunted by regrets, and we'll marinate in past memories, searching for meaning. And that as we begin to submit to a seemingly predestined fate, our hope will falter. Even today, we may feel that hope has betrayed us. But through the loving companionship that we share, we can inspire each other to hope once again. As we take our next steps, we must remember to ask ourselves, what authentic friendships did we build in this place? Did we find love? And if not, have we created our profile yet on Ivy Date? Community is the first unforgettable. Now about the second unforgettable, purpose. During treatment, I regretted most deeply that I had been so concerned with others' definitions of success that I hadn't done the things in life that I had wanted to do. I lost my childhood ability to dream big and take risks. In other words, I hadn't lived with purpose. Now, it sure would be convenient for me to say that the meaning of life magically appears on the walls of the cancer ward and that I am here today to share that prophecy with you. For that, you must instead wait for the Mayan apocalypse. Quite the contrary. In the end, and unless your chemo meds are getting to you, there is no voice that proclaims your role in this universe. But as Martin Luther King reminded me, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. I promised myself one thing. If I were given one more chance to live, I would stop living in fear and instead start embracing a deeper faith in myself, that I too can do something truly remarkable. After all, the tragedy of my life was not that it might end so soon, but that I'd waited so long to begin living it. When I finally recovered from treatment, my attention quickly shifted from fulfilling the expectations of others to trying to rediscover my own purpose. But while I've enjoyed some wild adventures in the process, I am still searching. Of course, there's definitely enough purpose to go around. The world's greatest misfortunes don't rest quietly in our past, but rather stand before us today. Illness, climate change, powerlessness in the face of corruption, these evils that rarely cast shadows on the red bricks of HBS or the white walls of global capitalism, are more alive today than ever before. These are dark times that require purposeful agents. And yet, despite that darkness, there is today an unimaginable opportunity for innovation and leadership to build a more free, sustainable, and healthy global society. As graduates of the Harvard Business School, we have been offered the chance to make this difference. We have been given skills, perspectives, and relationships to put in motion the great revolutions the world hasn't yet seen. In his inaugural address of 1933, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt took note of hard times not unlike those we face today. He shared about emaciated GDPs, vanished personal savings, withering industrial enterprise, and pervasive unemployment. But Roosevelt's reply merits restatement today. Happiness, he reflected, lies not in the mad chase of evanescent profits, but instead in the joy of achievement, the thrill of creative effort, all towards a greater purpose. On the eve of launching his New Deal, Roosevelt reminded himself of the purposeful life upon which he had embarked, and that the darkness of his times could only be driven out by a bright belief in something much bigger than himself. We cannot forget to ask each other about our life's purpose. Are we dreaming big enough? Are we daring to hazard the challenges that have perplexed previous generations? Are we chasing that purpose with everything we've got? So, class of 2012, as we take our next step into the great unknown before us, I ask you to remind me and to remind each other of two unforgettable ideas. First, with your extraordinary talents, give freely of yourself to your community and embrace your capacity to love. Companionship can salvage the European currency, and it might just save your life. Second, Figure out your purpose and pursue it with everything you have. Like the Mars Curiosity rover, take exciting chances to cross new frontiers, because in the end, life is so short. In the language of Facebook, you get to create your own profile and direct your own timeline. Purpose is unforgettable. Community is unforgettable. And you, class of 2012, are unforgettable to me. Thank you.